Hey,
I wanted to
John.
do, yes, go ahead.
This is Charlie. If you may be prepared to do this, but if you could take a moment and explain well, it looks like you're about to go into that, who American
Yeah,
Independent Marketing is and Golden Care. I think there's some confusion when our agents are contacted by AIM
yeah,
and Golden Care. They don't relate it to Mutual of Omaha.
yeah, definitely. That's actually teeing up my topic right here. Little bit. I'll spend a few minutes on this. American Independent Marketing, our company. I'm the general manager for AIM. The owner of the company is a fellow by the name of John Wayne. You may know that name, not from the movies, but from the industry. He's been around for over 3 decades as one of the leaders in this industry. His counterpart is a gentleman by the name of Lenny Anderson, who runs Golden Care USA. They're out of Minneapolis. John and Lenny, 35 years ago or so now, formed a partnership. These two guys, and there was a third guy who was actually sort of a predecessor to the current Genworth long-term care arrangement. And this is a fellow by the name of Hirsch Marcusfeld, who was the chief long-term care actuary for Fireman's Fund. Together, they went to Aegon and told them that they ought to be in this great business called long-term care insurance, and assured them that they could deliver the production that they're looking for in exchange for exclusive marketing rights and development of a product. So that's what they did, 35 years ago. We spent over 15 years with Aegon, all the way up until the point that they got out of the business for about 3 years. And we developed, 4 or 5 or 6 different generations of long-term care product with them. And at that time, or during that time, we sort of developed a reputation as not just distributors of product, but also innovators and developers of products. So when the Aegon thing ended, basically we lost our deal, our exclusive deal, and we became all things to all people long-term care. We picked up national marketing level contracts with every company out there, basically, including Genworth, and we still hold those marketing contracts today. So we represent all the carriers in the business. Right now, AIM is actually not working with Transamerica. That's the one we're not. But about 10 years ago now, in 2005, we put together a new deal with Mutual of Omaha. At that time, they weren't doing anything in long-term care or anything to speak of. They were in it, but they were way down the ladder in terms of production. And they were looking for us for what we do, which is distribute product and build sales. So we put together a deal through United of Omaha. You guys probably ran into that in the field. A lot of those ideas were some of the old Aegon ideas, kind of the hybrid cash reimbursement model. That's an old AIM and Golden Care idea that's still out there and still a really great niche, and still a better idea than some of the other ideas that are out there. So I'll kind of fast forward through the United of Omaha / Mutual of Omaha piece. We had our own product through United of Omaha that in the most recent generation of product has been folded up underneath the Mutual of Omaha brand. So there are 2 products now. One is sort of the shelf Mutual product. The other is the little bit more creative and robust custom product, which is basically the United product. I know I'm talking fast and I'm starting to confuse myself a little bit on my story here, but anyway, that's a little bit about us. We're like other FMOs, other distributors, but we're unique in that we're also very involved on the manufacturing side, and have managed to create exclusive marketing relationships with carriers. So that's what makes us different. We're not here to talk about this today, but we also have an exclusive relationship with another carrier that we have global set up with, and that company is called Guarantee Trust Life. We created kind of a substandard play specifically for cases that can't be placed with any of the long-term care insurers. It's a product called Critical Care, and we're actually about to be releasing another version of that plan here. You should see that in the next couple of months. If anybody has any questions on that, they can contact us. offline. So this is just information on how to get a hold of us. The map shows you, which marketing company is representing which state. So American Independent Marketing is the dark blue, including Texas, and Golden Care is the light blue. As I mentioned, we're open here at 6 o'clock to accommodate the Central and Eastern time zones, so you can catch us pretty early here. You can also catch us late Central Time. We're here till 7 p.m. Your time, and you can see the information on how to get a hold of Golden Care. If you ever get confused or just want to come through us, for initial guidance or direction, feel free to do that. So preaching to the choir a little bit, this is a standard slide we use in different presentations. A lot of people we deal with are not specialists like you guys, and they just don't know enough, quite frankly. They pull out their strat decision, pump in some variables, find the lowest price, and off you go as though nothing else matters. We know that you guys know that there are other things that matter, and the quality of the carrier that you represent, and you've had the privilege of representing one of the best if you were to measure it by production over the years in Genworth. So you definitely, with a long tail product, need to care about the longevity and the ability of the carrier you're representing to be there 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50 years from now. That's kind of a big deal when you think about it. And there are still a couple of carriers in this industry that, let me just say it another way. There are some that are much better bet than others, and we feel very strongly about that. Obviously, the features are important too. All products are not the same. So, price we know is really important, and Lord knows the carriers have made it tough on us in the last 6, 7, 8 years. They keep raising the rates and making it harder to for people to afford what we're selling. But features and carrier, I just think that agents need to spend more time on that. So you guys are developing a new story, and I know some of you have done a really good job of it. We've seen a lot of apps from Sasha and a lot of apps from Ron, and probably some apps from others. Forgive me if I haven't picked up your names yet, but we know you're just getting rolling. And the story is not the Genworth story, but it's a really terrific story, especially with the demographic that you're working with. It's a very, very well-known and well-thought-of brand in Mutual of Omaha. You see them everywhere. They're sponsors of USA Swimming. They're on race cars. They're all over the NC2A. They're in professional sports. They've got golfers. They've got as much brand recognition as you could ask for in a long-term care company, and not just brand recognition. I think it's very positively associated brand recognition. So the story's the same. I'm hoping you guys are sort of picking up the new tune and are getting comfortable with the new Mutual of Omaha story. Want to spend some time just talking about the differences between the secure and custom products. I know I just hit on it just a little bit. The left side product is the secure. It's sort of the Mutual of Omaha product. The right side is the custom. This is sort of the inherited United of Omaha product. It's got some of the old Aegon influence in there. Actually, they both do now, but one has got a little bit more of it than the other. I'm going to try and go through this quickly, and just if you want to stop me, please do. The first thing I'm going to do is just tell you what's the same. So everything on this slide here is where they're the same. They're both monthly benefits, $1,500 to $10,000. Elimination periods, we'll talk about some differences, but they're calendar day built in. They both have the alternate plan of care. It's what you're used to. The benefits have to be less costly to the carrier, agreed to by the carrier, the insured, and the insured's doctor. If you use care coordination, you get a bundle of extra benefits: caregiver training, durable medical equipment, home modification, and medical alert. Combined, those benefits can be up to 2 times the monthly benefit. Respite care, hospice care, international care. It's full benefits inside U.S., or U.K., or Canada. Outside, it's a 12-month benefit, and it's an indemnity benefit, so you get the full monthly regardless. Waiver of premium. after the elimination period. I want to remind you that both plans come with cash built in, and there is no elimination period there. More benefits that are the same. These are optional benefits. Shared care. I think the Genworth was the same with us. Did this Genworth require that you leave 1 year in the shared care?
No, it's a little bit different, John.
Okay, so this one's a little bit different, where you do have to leave 1 year for the healthy spouse, which isn't. I prefer that it wasn't that way, but it is what it is. The spouse security benefit, you may be familiar with that. I'm not going to go there yet. We'll talk a little bit about that later. There's a couple of options in there to reduce premium, to lower the ALF and HAC to 50% or 75%. And, of course, we have to offer the non-forfeiture shortened benefit period. There's also... go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
How are you doing this morning?
Good. Both plans also have a new return of premium option, and this one pays 3 times the maximum monthly benefit. We're selling this successfully for 2 reasons. One, most importantly, is it's at much lower cost when it's just 3 times the monthly benefit.
Okay.
And what we're doing, or what some of the guys are doing, is
I'm on a webinar right now,
selling this as a final expense
find out for certain
plan. So let's talk a little bit about
Charlie,
what's different.
Excuse me. Could
John.
everybody mute their phones, please?
Yes, please. If you're not speaking, please mute your phone.
Let me
Hello?
find out about that.
Hello?
He's not talking to us. That's
Very good.
why.
I'll be back shortly.
I'm sorry, John.
That's okay.
Everyone, please mute your phones, even if you're not speaking. There's a lot of background noise, heavy breathing, and some other things. So please mute your phones. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. So let's talk a little bit about what's different. The secure plan is set up as the traditional benefit period type product, whereas the custom is a face amount. So you select a face amount. We thought it made sense that what we're really buying is financial protection, and rather than taking monthly benefits or daily benefits and multiplying them by benefit periods to create face amounts, which we've all done, we thought it makes sense to just start there. So independent of your monthly election, you select how much face amount you want or maximum benefit. Elimination period, what I've done is in green is everything where there are differences. So you'll see there's a couple of lower elimination period options with the custom plan. Remember that they're both calendar day. Cash, we think, is a huge deal. We think it's a major differentiator between the mutual product and other products out there. You get 10% more cash in the custom product than the secure product. The joint waiver, survivorship, a couple of different return of premium options, double benefits for professional home care as an option, and some additional inflation options. They're all available in the custom product, not available in the secure. We're going to come back to this a little bit, talking about the inflation options. This is where you're really going to get a whole lot of premium flexibility. The idea here is to put you guys in position to make more sales, basically, with increased pressure on rates. So we've continued to do things over the years, AIM and Golden Care, to basically find ways to sell less coverage than we did before. We all used to sell a lot of lifetime benefit, 5% compound, but we've been forced to do other things, and so some of you I know are quite familiar with all this already, but we've gone to the 1% and 2% option. We put the buy-up option in there, and that's really to help people get more comfortable selling less coverage. And we've gone to the quarter point increment too, just because each quarter point is a big move in premium, and we think when there's a big move in premium, generally speaking, it's worth making an offering there. Caps is just another way to do things. You get massive movement in premium when you put a 20 or 15 year or 10-year cap on the inflation option. If you haven't played with that in the software, you really need to do that if you're having any sort of pressure on price. So I'm going to talk a little bit about cash, and Dave, if you have anything you want to add to this, you go ahead and jump right in. But all of us, and I know so many of you guys have been around the business a long time, and you've seen the evolution of products go from basically getting better and better and better to sort of going the other way, where companies have began pulling back on benefits and charging more for the same benefits they already had before. And the impact really has been on the informal caregiver side, where it's harder to get access to informal. Who's ever typing, could you please mute your phone? Thank you. What we've seen is companies pulling back on benefits that are very meaningful benefits. You've seen Genworth do the same thing, where they pulled out their informal caregiver benefit. Now they've added it back in, which is a great option. But even adding it back in, if I remember it right, it's not quite what it used to be. So the point in all this is cash is really important because there are no restrictions whatsoever on the benefit. You can use it for anything. It's completely flexible. It's always relevant. You think about how fast our world, in all ways, including the caregiver and medical side of things, is changing. That to have a benefit that can be used for anything you want, no matter what, without company approval, we think it's going to be increasingly important as the world continues to change. So think 30 years from now, what's going to be available. If you look about what's already available in terms of some really wild housing options or with technology, there's a lot that the traditional long-term care product actually doesn't cover today. Cash covers everything so long as you hit the triggers, as you guys know. So I'm starting to beat a dead horse here, but there's other options out there. Remember that with Mutual of Omaha, that the cash is built in. There's no added cost. There's no requirement that the company approve the services. Some have that. And it does not have to be a part of the approved plan of care as per the contract. We get questions sometimes, is it if you pull 40% out of the bucket, is it taking 100% out of the bucket? And the answer is definitely no. So for example, if you have a $150,000 plan and you're pulling and you got a $5,000 monthly benefit, 40% of that is a $2,000 cash benefit. If you're pulling the cash benefit out, it's dollar for dollar, so you'll have 75 months of benefits coming out. Conversely, if you tap the other side, the big pipe, if you're pulling $5,000 out on a $150,000 plan, that your benefit's going to last for 30 months. Any questions on that?
And you can do both at the same time, right? In other words,
you can toggle
take $3,000 in LTC and then $2,000 cash.
No,
Oh.
you're doing one or the other, and you can toggle back and forth between months, but you can't do both.
Okay. Well,
that's a good question. That's a good question.
This is Stacia. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So there is no elimination period for the cash?
That's correct.
That is wonderful. That means it's like a 0-day elimination period for home care. You don't have to buy it. And
Thank
so
you very much.
I have another question about the professional home care. They get professional home care. They just don't get more money for it. Is that if you put no on the professional home care?
That's correct, yeah. So you
That's
get
good
double.
to know.
Yes, if you elect the professional home care option, you get double benefits for professional care.
Okay. This is very helpful to me. I've been selling a lot of that product and not really knowing exactly everything about it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot there. And, yes, you have been selling a lot of that product, Stacia. We appreciate it very much. Yeah.
Well, I like the product, and I think the company's good company, so why not?
Yeah. How's your experience been on the new business side? It been okay?
It's been okay. It still takes longer than I wish it would, but I understand doctors' offices, too. They are hard to deal with sometimes.
I'm going to do a little commercial right here just because we're on it. All of you guys, you can send your applications either directly to the home office or you can send them through here. And if you send them through here, we will overnight them to the home office. But what we'll also do is take a good look at them and make sure that everything that needs to be there is there. And Stacia, I know that Lisa here in our office, I don't know if you've met her yet, but she's still paying attention to your applications, and there are a number of them that have gone in where it's needed something. And she can clean those up for you and make sure they're in good order. And well, you guys know the drill. If you miss something minor, it can be something major in terms of time delays. Are there any more questions while we pause?
Hey, John.
Yes.
Can you send me a copy of all of these slides so I can get them out? Okay, that'd be great, because I know everybody's trying to take notes, and so just send them to me, and I'll get them to everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charlie, sorry, John.
Go ahead.
I'm recording the webinar, Charlie, so we'll get the YouTube video of the webinar itself emailed over to you as well, so you can archive that link for your people to watch as well.
That's great. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we know you guys are drinking from the fire hose a little bit here. Just, anytime you need anything, pick up the phone and give us a call. We're happy to go one-on-one with any one of you. I'm gonna accelerate here a little bit. This slide basically is just showing you something that you basically already know, that when you quote somebody, most of the premium is in that inflation option. It's and the companies have put tremendous pressure on all of us to find ways to basically help people afford coverage. And the way to do it, if the premium's sitting there in the inflation option, is we've had to get creative there. That's where the relief is going to be. So this slide just basically illustrates that. I want to mention something else that we're reminded from time to time that not everybody remembers, and that is that if you buy any inflation option less than 5% compound, it comes with a guaranteed buy-up option built in. And what that allows you to do is, or allows your client to do, is increase their coverage any time. So they can do this for up to 20 years or age 75, whichever happens earlier. But on any policy anniversary date, it doesn't matter if you skip 1, 2, 3, or 10 of them. You can, it doesn't matter if you elect it or not. You can increase that inflation benefit without evidence of insurability, as much or as little as you want. So if you wanted to just add a quarter point or a half point, or if you wanted to add 2 points, you can do that, and you don't have to go back through underwriting. The idea behind that was we knew that the companies were continuing to put pressure on premium rates, and what we needed to do was get agents and consumers comfortable buying and selling less. And the way to do that is to allow people to make a new decision later, to take the pressure off the agent. So you can go in there, and if the situation dictates that you need to sell or need to recommend a 2% inflation option, to know that you can do that. And if next year they want to add a half point to it, and 5 years later another half point, and 10 years after that another half point or a quarter, whatever they want to do, they can do that. And that should allow you to everybody to be a little bit more comfortable that if times change and inflation rates start to go nuts, you can do something about it. So it's a tremendous benefit that not everybody has. This is a slide.
Right?
Excuse me?
That is at their attained age, correct?
Yes, good question. The original benefits are at original age, and whatever you add is at attained age.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So forgive me for the wall of numbers I drew. This is just to basically show you how much premium flexibility you have with these various inflation options. So to the right, you can see kind of the narrative of what I'm trying to illustrate here. So let's take this top one here. This is the most expensive one. We don't sell a lot of 5% compound for life anymore because people can't afford it. But if you were to go there and just put a 20-year cap on it, you're saving $2,700. That's massive. Another example, if you were to go to a 3% lifetime option at 32.38, if you were to put a 20-year cap on that, you're saving somebody $569. That's the difference between making a sale and not making a sale in a good percentage of cases. There's another example. If you were to go from life down to a quarter point, this is really just to illustrate what a quarter point is worth. That's $490. This is on a married couple, by the way, both age 55, $4,500 a month, $150,000 a day, 90-day elimination period. So you can see that a quarter point in certain situations, there's a reason why it's there. It's not just there to, throw out a bunch of options that people don't care about. This product is designed more for specialists, people that can handle fine-tuning knobs and that sell a fair bit of this stuff. For the average guy, the average brokerage agent that maybe sells one or two or three of these a year when the phone rings, they'll tend to get confused by this. But for guys like you and us, these kinds of things can be handy little tools in the box to help you make sales. The last example here is just taking it from 4% down a half point and putting I didn't do that. I circled around the wrong box here. I should have been on the 20-year cap to save $1,600. But anyway, you get the point here, guys. That there's a lot here for you. When you quote, when you use the software, and Dave's going to show you our software, get used to putting those caps on and using that slider to dial those inflation options down. Wanted to spend just a minute on the spouse security benefit. This is something totally unique. It's not magic and it's not perfect, but what we found is guys are using it to basically save sales when one of the spouses is either declined or not fit to apply. And what it does is it pays an extra 60% benefit to the healthy one, to the insured one, when they go on claim. And the idea is that the healthy one is basically caring for the unhealthy one. So it's a little bit gimmicky, but like I said, what people have been doing is finding a way to salvage a sale when they would otherwise lose both. So you guys know the drill. When you have a couple and one of them can get it and the other one can't, you usually lose them both. This can be a way to salvage them. It costs actually exactly 60% more in premium. So when you consider the couples discounts that go away on this type of sale, it's approximately the same premium you would have been asking for in the first place. So take a look at that, and you may find that it's a deal saver for you on occasion. So that's the segue back to you, Dave. If you can either go into the e-app or into the software, whatever you want to do next.
Sure, yeah.
Before going there, maybe I'll hit the pause button. Were there any product questions? I know I didn't cover everything, and I know I went fast.
I have a question. This is Jim Webb. Can you hear me all right?
Sure.
All right. This has nothing to do when you were talking about cash earlier with Mutual, but I thought I saw something on there with another company flash on there. MedAmerica Cash has gone away. Is that true? Do you know?
Well,
because we were talking about how important cash was, and
it may. I can't remember what to say. The all cash benefit.
It hasn't yet. It hasn't yet.
Okay.
I mean, that new product hasn't come out yet.
And
the cash benefit is going away on Contigo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was the all.
MedAmerica is coming out in the next few weeks with an audio. That's one of the reasons they've been so hesitant to do a presentation like this for us, is because they're revamping their entire product. So that may be when it's happening. Yeah.
Well, and I think the slide was on the old Simplicity, the all cash benefit. They did ratchet that back. Yeah.
I have one final question.
Sure.
On the secure product, you were talking about inflation. It started at 1%, but on the secure plan, I think it started at 3%.
That's correct.
Is there not a GPO on that or not on the secure?
Yes, there is secure on the. There is GPO on the secure.
Okay, good. Just wanted to confirm that.
And keep in mind, if you're selling 3% on the secure, there is no guaranteed upgrade option, so that's not there.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thanks for the question.
Okay, we ready to start popping through the software? I'll just give you a feel for how the software works, and just a minor correction. The guaranteed purchase option is not an option on inflation with Mutual, period. When you select none, it is none. So just a little clarification there.
On the secure too?
Yeah, it's basically here are the options, and the top one being none.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
But if you select any inflation protection, then there is a guaranteed purchase option.
That's a true statement. Guaranteed buy-up option. Put it that way.
Right, buy-up option.
Yeah, if you buy at least 1% you're in the game. And you'll notice that and I'm jumping ahead of myself here. I'll back up here in a second, but 1% is partnership legal in Texas, as an example, for any age. So with Mutual of Omaha, you do have the Married to Insured discount, and the Married One Insured discount either applying by themselves or issued by themselves. And I see Genworth just brought that back, which is nice to see. The rates are gender distinct, or for a male-female rate, even with married couples. It's not a blended rate like with Genworth. So you can change the software to have the female be first. You can quote 2 females or 2 males, but it defaults when you first open it up to be male. And one reason why I would encourage you to download the standalone software is although StratDecision is great as far as giving you a feel for how everybody stacks up together, if you're quoting the custom package with Mutual of Omaha, StratDecision is going to restrict you to the policy limit to be in $25,000 increments, whereas on the individual quote software, it takes it down to $5,000 increments, and you can actually dial that down to a $500 increment as well. So just keep that in mind. So if you get it narrowed down where you think mutual is one way you want to go, then I'd pivot over to the standalone software. Many agents use this software with their client, like in a screen sharing session or sitting there beside them, and the client actually starts playing with the buttons because you get immediate feedback. Whenever you make any change in the software right here, the premium just automatically changes whatever you're doing with the software itself. Mutual does have a save age rule where if you type in a date here in the quote software which is within 30 calendar days of their actual birth date, the software will save the age. Mutual of Omaha has that same policy where they'll go back automatically 30 days from the day of an application to save age. And then you have another 30 days beyond that to get the application into the home office. So give us a call. There's actually a window there where you have a 60-day window to save someone's age when you're quoting somebody with Mutual. You've got 4 rate classes. Obviously, all the carriers use somewhat the same verbiage, but not all. So the preferred rate discount is a 15% discount off Select. Select is synonymous with standard by most other carriers. 2 substandard rate classes, Class 1 and Class 2. I'll give you a couple of examples of Class 1, which would be an insulin-dependent diabetic using 50 units of insulin per day or less would qualify for a Class 1 rate. Another underwriting niche with Mutual of Omaha, single stroke, single TIA. Within the last over a year old, no residuals. Mutual will take a look at that person at a Class 1 rate as well. And then there's a couple other underwriting niches for Mutual of Omaha too. On the high end of the height weight, Mutual seems to be almost the most forgiving carrier out there. So check the height weight chart. We very conveniently have put the underwriting guide right in the quote software, so you have quick reference. You can just quickly pull it up and page back to the impairment section of the product and underwriting guide. It is probably one of the more robust underwriting guides that I've seen from most all the carriers out there as far as covering or addressing a fair number of the conditions that you run into on a pretty consistent basis. So with the custom package, you have the minimum monthly benefit of $1,500 per month up to a max of $10,000. Why it's shaded here is based upon the policy limit I have selected. Anything that is in green is a legal configuration. If I try to go outside of that, it will tell me that I either need to select a smaller monthly benefit or a larger policy limit. The policy limits, as John mentioned earlier, go clear up to $500,000. You can't do every single combination with that, but for example, the minimum plan length with Mutual is 2 years. The max is a little over 8. So that's on the high side if you're looking for a longer length plan. And as carriers have kind of shrunk down to the 5-year wall, you can go a bit longer with the Mutual platform, especially if you have the shared care rider, which John mentioned earlier. The flip side benefit with the shared care with Mutual is that, yeah, there's a 1-year holdback, but if one of the spouses passes away and has never touched their policy or went on claim and passed away after a short period of time, whatever's remaining in their policy, their pool of money, transfers to the surviving spouse with no impact on their premium. In fact, the cost of the shared care rider comes off that surviving spouse's premium as well. So you have the breadth of the elimination periods, and here's where you can select the 0 day for home health care if you so desire. And then we have this nice convenient little slide bar here for choosing an inflation rider. When you first open the software, it's going to default to 3% at lifetime. It's very easy to cap, and you can see the impact I'm having on the premium as I start capping these benefits. And oh, by the way, if I get into an inflation option that's not legal in your state for partnership, the software will automatically light up. For example, with a pair of 60-year-olds, if I try to cap the inflation at 15 years, the software is going to bring up a message saying the selected inflation is not partnership qualified for this age. So if I take it back to a legal one, we've put a little tool in the software here called Pick Inflation. If I select that tool, it will bring up a window. Then on the right-hand side, it will tell you everything that is legal or what the actual partnership rules are for Texas. You'll see that Texas approved all the way down to 1% lifetime for age 30 and above.
That word legal, it's
everything's
legal.
Yeah, compliant. I'm sorry.
Partnership qualified.
Partnership qualified. Age 56, the 20-year cap kicks in. At age 61, the 15-year cap kicks in, and 66 and above, the 10-year cap kicks in as far as being partnership compliant in Texas. The rules vary state by state, so as you get more and more into perhaps embracing getting non-resident licenses in other states, it's a handy tool. You don't have to keep kind of a cheat sheet as far as the partnership requirements for Kansas versus Washington State versus Texas versus Michigan, as an example. So those tools are right there built into the software for your use. John mentioned earlier you can reduce the assisted living facility benefit down to either 75 or 50%. The same with the home health care. Be careful here, though. If you do reduce the home health care benefit, it does have a direct impact on the cash benefit. The 40% cash is directly tied to whatever your monthly home health care benefit is at the time of claim. He did mention the various riders available to enhance married couples, the share care, survivorship, joint waiver, and there's that funky security benefit that you can use as a potential option for a married couple where one of them is clearly uninsurable. So that's a peek at the software. Now, how do you get forms? Like if we're not around, you call, it's on a Saturday evening and you need a form, we have actually developed a website for you folks. And I have all this written up in a nice little cheat sheet that I'll send down to Charlie. But it's a map of the U.S., and you just merely hover over any state, like I'm hovering over Texas right now. It will show you that in that state, materials are there for Mutual, Guarantee Trust Life, and Kemper. And if I click on the state, and it'll take a second to react here. It will bring up for you the application for Mutual of Omaha, the custom brochure, the agent underwriting guide, the most current version. It just came out here a couple of weeks ago. The Texas Shopper's Guide, and the Medicare, the Guide to Medicare, the most current one. And the most current one we have available in a PDF is 2014. Then it goes on down into the GTL product line and into the Kemper product lines as well. So this site is available to you 24/7. Just as a way to allow you to get access in case you're working late one evening and you forgot to grab that app from that state, and you don't know how to get on the Mutual site to grab it from there as well. These are all fillable PDFs that you can do on the fly, but I know a lot of you are kind of excited about moving into the e-app process, and that's where I'm going to segue now is into a brief tour of the e-application available with Mutual of Omaha. It is available on Mutual of Omaha's website, so you have to have access to the internet to access this application to complete it at the time of sale. So if you either have your client in your office sitting with you and you're doing a session on Mutual's website, or your client has internet at their home and they're willing to give you access to their wireless router, you can dial in and get logged in at mutualofomaha.com. If you have not set up a login ID and password to mutualofomaha.com, what you'll do is when you first go to the site, this is the welcome page for Mutual. It defaults to individual customers. You select the down arrow and change it to sales professionals. If you haven't established a login ID and password, there's a link here to click on to register to set one up. And that takes you to a page where you do all the I do's and I don'ts. And it's going to ask you to type in your registration key. Your registration key is your agent writing number with Mutual of Omaha. So go ahead and input that number, and it should allow you access. You may get a message back saying this registration key is already in use. That means that at some point in time in the past, you have set up a login ID and password. So you'll need to reach out to Mutual of Omaha directly and get that squared away before you can get on the system. But once you have logged in, and again, all this is typed up in a little cheat sheet that I'm going to get down to Charlie for your reference as well. Once you're on, you go to this little tab on the toolbar labeled Sales Tools. Scroll down the bottom here, and you'll see two links. One is the e-app itself, and the other is a sandbox. So you'll each have access to a sandbox where you can play around, get a feel for how the app flows, get a feel for the signature process without hurting anything, and then you're ready to rumble with the live app. Now we want to make sure. I'm going to show you the actual application that if you had been appointed in the past with Crump, we'll want to make sure that your appointment paperwork is all scored away through LTC Global. Otherwise, if you were to do an e-app and not have that transition done, that application would be coded back over to Crump versus LTC Global.
Hey, Dave,
So
let me interject here. I think most of you have gotten your release from Crump. It's a very simple process. It's a one-page form. If you have not, please shoot me an email and I'll get that form out to you. It's usually a 24-hour turnaround, but as Dave says, make sure we get that done prior to submitting your first app. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Charlie. So when you first get on the e-app and you're ready to, and the look and feel is the same in the sandbox versus a regular app, you're presented with this small window here where you're going to be prompted to select the resident state, and with Mutual of Omaha, if you're in Texas and your client is in Oklahoma, you'll want to select Oklahoma, and you can write up an Oklahoma application if you're in Texas without requiring an Oklahoma non-res, unless you're doing a join me session or a screen sharing session with that person being in Oklahoma. That would require you to have a non-res for Oklahoma itself. But you'll select whatever state where the person lives that you're working with to apply for coverage, and then you'll be asked to select a commission code. In the commission code, you should be offered, if you're licensed in multiple states across Golden Care Territory and American Independent Marketing Territory, you'll be presented with two possible commission codes to select from. All the ones that end in the letter Z, as in zebra, are tied to American Independent Marketing. All the codes that end in the letter Q will tie you back to Golden Care in their states. And when in doubt, as far as you're not sure what state belongs to which of us, you can go back to that map that has all the sales forms on it, and you can figure out pretty easily which states belong to which carrier. Or give us a call. We'd be happy to help you out as well. Now, I took the liberty to go ahead of time and actually pre-populate an application. I'm not going to go through every single page of the application, but what I'm going to show you is kind of a feel for how the application flows. So the e-app flows just like the fillable PDF, just like the paper act. So the first form you're presented with is the personal worksheet. The nice thing about the e-app, though, is, as you know, on the personal worksheet, you have the capability to not disclose your personal financial information and still move forward with the application process. So when I answer that question, I choose not to disclose or complete all the financial information on myself. It's not going to present you with all those blanks that you have to scroll by to get to the next section of the application. And you'll see that is pretty consistent in the flow of the application in other areas as well. Give you a couple of examples when actually getting into the application. But in this scenario, I did go ahead and complete all the financial information on the personal worksheet. If you have the ability to, is just to hit next, which will take you to the next page. And I'll do that in the example here. It will take you to the first page of the application where I'm inputting, obviously, the personal information about my client applying for coverage. So name, address, just like the application, contact info, email address, not a required field, but I'll show you where you want to have that if necessary. Their social number, their date of birth, the U.S. citizen, and then if they want a selected beneficiary to return any unused premium, or if they select a return of premium option, they want that money to go to a certain individual beyond just the estate of. You also have the ability to go right to a table of contents where it goes right through the various sections of an application, just like the sections are laid out today in the paper app or on the fillable PDF app. So we have the general info, which I just showed you, allowances, which is where you plug in if you're married, for example, but I'm applying by myself, so if I have a partner, yes, then it's going to ask me, are they also applying? Do they have an existing coverage? On down the line. But if I say no, it's going to take all those additional questions away, so you're not bothered with extra white noise on the application. Section D of the application, I'm going to spend a second here. These are the questions where if you have any yeses, technically you cannot apply for coverage or go further with the app. The first question here has to do with physical exam along with blood work. And with mutual, there's no paramed that happens with the application process. So they want, if you're 65 years old or older, you have to have had a complete physical with blood work in the last 24 months just to apply for coverage. If you're under age 65, mutual requires you to at least have seen a physician for whatever reason, whether it be a cut finger or a stuffy nose. They would like to be able to pull records on you that show that you have been to a doctor in the last 24 months for whatever reason. Because even if you haven't had a physical, any doctor is going to do a brief assessment of you when you show up at the door. If they're sewing up a finger or whatever, they're going to do an assessment. That's what they're looking for. Blood work's not required. So you have a young couple, 55, go through the underwriting process. They both get issued select, and you get a little note from the underwriter saying, look, if they were to go out and get a physical with blood work, I might reevaluate them and take a look at offering you preferred rates for that 55-year-old couple. You have a 60-day window from the time of policy issues to have that person or couple go get physicals with complete blood work and be reconsidered for the preferred rate class. If you're working with that 55-year-old couple and they haven't applied yet and they haven't had a physical yet, I would not tell you to tell them to get a physical prior to applying. I would say let's just ride the process through, and if that is the only holdup as to why you're not getting preferred, then go get the physical and then have a chance to get the preferred rate class. If you need more information on that scenario, just give us a call or pop us a note. So if I do answer any of these questions, yes, this is not a smart app. It's not going to stop you from going forward. All it's going to do is bring up a message. Like, for example, do you require assistance with ADLs? And I say yes. Then we are unable to accept this application or offer applicant A long-term care insurance. Do not continue. The application here will allow you to go on and complete the whole app. So it's not going to stop you, but it just brings up the warning. The only exception to the rule is the very last question regarding DI, disability income. Mutual of Omaha will accept people who are on VA disability at 50% or less, and any retired military knows exactly what percent VA disability they're on. So in that scenario, you can answer this question, yes. Just make sure you attach a detailed explanation to the application explaining away the VA disability. I'm going to accelerate here pretty, John. I don't want to hold these people up. So again, the standard health questions you go through, if there are any yeses, it's going to open up windows for you to type in the details as to why you answered yes, any medications you may be on. I wanted to get to a couple of forms that I want you to pay attention to. When you get to the agreements and acknowledgement form, all you're typing in here is the city and the state where the application was signed. But right below that is a prompt, is the applicant request to fill out an authorization for release for information to my agent. This is an agent HIPAA form, relatively new with Mutual. If you check a box there, that will require one more signature of the client. That will allow you to have a very open conversation and candid conversation with an underwriter. If your client's been rated up, if they've been declined, you can that gives you the capability to reach out, have a conversation with the underwriter, find out exactly what happened. So you're finding out ahead of your client finding out that they were declined and given all the reasons. Strongly encourage you to have that form signed every time you do an application, whether it be hard copy on the fillable PDF or on the e-app. Another area where some agents have been a little bit nervous is when they get to the producer statement, they scroll down and mutual requires you to put in your social number. A lot of agents are reluctant to do that in the presence of their client for whatever reason. So you can dummy one up, and then I'll show you as soon as we finish the signature process how you can go back at the very end before you submit the application and change this back to the correct number. So now it's time to sign. So I want to start the signature process. And I'm going to have the applicant sign first. There's a little button here labeled email. If you are not on a screen sharing session with the client, you're basically taking the app over the phone, you can email the signature process to the applicant. That's where on that first page with the applicant info, that's where it's going to pull the email address from. So if they don't have an email address there, it's not going to allow you to email this link. But if they do, it'll email a link to your client, which will take them to the very same signature process I'm going to show you here. When they've finished signing, you'll get an email back saying that your client has completed their signing of the application. Before I can sign an application, I have to bring up all the leave behind material, at least show Mutual that you've opened up this PDF. This one's a big one because not only does it have the outline of coverage, but it also has the shopper's guide, the guide to Medicare. It's a long PDF, but it takes a few minutes to bring up. So this is where you could have your idle chit-chat with your client about how are the kids doing, what's new in college, blah, 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 where are you going on your next vacation, just to kill the time. But it does take a couple of seconds to bring this PDF up. And all Mutual wants to see is that you open this document. What you do with this document is up to you. I would strongly suggest that you save this PDF on your desktop, rename the PDF to your client's last name, and that way you can easily send it off to your client to review when they have time and look through all the detailed information. Almost done here. So when it does open, you'll see it opening here in just a second. It's going to be just a big giant PDF. If I had been on here earlier and opened it and then gone back and reopened it, it would have happened a lot faster. But it does open up to the first page of the leave behind materials in the application. I can drop down to this little toolbar on the right-hand side and hit save it as a PDF on my desktop, email off to my client. So I'm going to close out of this one, go to the second one, which is a very small 2-page document. Basically, it's the consent to move forward with the e-signature process. So I've opened that one. It allows me to check the 2 remaining boxes. I agree to consent to the use of the electronic signature, and I agree to sign my application for insurance. So now we're ready to go sign. With the Mutual app, this actually brings up the full application, but rather than going through it page by page looking for the signature, you just hit next signature button. It will bring up where it has to be signed next. When you hit sign, it's going to tell you digitally signed by Alaska Jack, the date, the time, and the IP address where it was signed. That's all Mutual needs to see. I just click on next signature again. I'm rejecting the 5% compound option. Here's my agreements page.
So Dave, just to be clear on this signature process, you can hand controls over to your client if you're doing a screen share, similar to the way Dave and I have been handing it back and forth.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Or you can see Dave is signing right now, and we can all see what he's doing. So it's pretty versatile. Somebody can be in your office, and you're sitting at the screen together signing, or you can do it as Dave's doing. Or if Dave were selling to me, Dave could hand controls over to me and I could sign that way. Or even the last way, as he indicated earlier, if we're not looking at the same screen and we're just talking on the phone, we can do it by email.
Thanks, John.
Hey, Dave.
Yes, sir.
I got a question. On the page where it said that you can save the documents to a PDF, am I correct that if you're using an iPad, that you really can't save a PDF on an iPad, so you have to be on a laptop or a regular computer? Is that correct?
I'm not an iPad guru myself, but you probably know more about that than I. I mean, obviously, if your iPad supports a Chrome or an Internet Explorer session to get on the Mutual website, what happens with that PDF once you've uploaded it, I'm not exactly sure. That's a good question. We'll follow up with. Who asked the question?
Yeah, this is Ted Royston in Texas.
Okay, Ted, I'll follow up with you on that one.
And then I posted a question about how do we download the standalone software. I didn't get a response yet.
Oh, that's me. I'm sorry I can't talk and read questions at the same time. I'll bring up that cheat sheet in just a second here where it shows the software download. And I'll get that over to Charlie right after we're done. On the HIPAA form, you'll see that the signature is a little bit different. It actually is a digital signature of Alaska Jack. What Mutual has found is that most every facility has accepted this digital signature. If they don't have their own special authorization, they require to get medical records. So for the most part, this is working quite well.
Hey, Dave, this is Charlie. So
Yes,
just
sir.
to be clear on the email signature, so if I use that, it's going to email the signature pages to the client. Now, so will they get will the email arrive very similar to the way you did it digitally? It'll pull it up and it'll be yellowed out, and if they click on it, it signs, or do they literally have to print it off, sign it, and then scan it?
No, they'll be presented with exactly what you're seeing here on my screen.
So when they click in that yellow area, it will digitally sign it, and
yes, and they'll hit next signature to go to the next signature.
Okay, and does it send it directly to your home office, or does it send it back to the agent?
No, it's going to sit there on Mutual's website, and then the Mutual website is going to send you an email back saying your client has completed signing the application.
Got it. Okay.
Then you can go back into that application and complete your signature part of it as well.
Got it. Okay.
So the last form I signed here is the agent HIPAA form. So that's the one I really want you to dial in on and make sure you get covered. And when I'm finished, I'm finished. And now I can go back through as the agent and sign it as the agent. And with the applications here, you can start an application ahead of time. So you can key in a bunch of the personal information, everything you may know about that client. Maybe you've already decided on a policy design. They're just going to acknowledge that that looks like what we agreed to buy, blah, blah, blah. And the Mutual site will save your application. It'll show it as being incomplete. You can go back in, pull it back up. You can't submit it to us until it shows that it's completely signed. So it's kind of fail-safe. It doesn't let you go past go, and it will keep an application up there regardless of what status it is for about 30 days. So I'm just going to
Dave, when we're making a presentation in one state, the client's in another state, where it says signed at, that is the state that the client is in, correct?
Correct statement. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're doing a screen sharing session remotely with the client up in Oklahoma, for example, it's signed and dated in Oklahoma.
Got it.
Dave,
yes.
Is this where you were going to show us how if we didn't want to put our social in front of the client, is this where we can go back in and edit it now?
Yeah, I'll show you that, and thanks for teaming me up. So I signed this is my last agent signature, and you'll see I've got a dummied up social number here, and I'm going to hit finished, and now I'm done. But now I need to go back. So I have a chance to hit the edit button one more time, and it brings up a button saying you can click here to edit just the producer statement without affecting the signature process. Because once the application is signed, the app is done. You cannot go back and make any changes to an application. You either need to start a whole new application or send corrective pages that are initialed by your client and or yourself to the home office to make adjustments. So once it's signed, it's done. But here's your chance to hit that one more edit where we'll bring up the producer statement one more time where you can go and change your social number back to the real McCoy. Now, you may want to do this after you've already sent an application to the client. And you can, if you want to, view your application. It will bring up the completed application with signatures. And then if you want, you can save this as a PDF for your own purposes. You've got a record of the application that you've submitted. And maybe your client would like to keep a copy of their application as well. This is the complete application as you would have with paper. So you can just merely go down here and save it as a PDF or whatever you wish to do with it. But once you're done with that whole process, there'll be a button here labeled Submit to Back Office. And that's where you submit your app. And the app is actually coming to us here at AIM or the folks up at Golden Care, depending upon what state the app resides. And we did, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, this is John. Will you go through that one more time? When you say, well, once the app is signed, it's done, this whole Social Security number business. I missed at what point it's actually done and the agent can't go back and edit the Social Security number.
I can go back as many times as I wish to edit that Social Security number. It's when you get to the point where the applicant's completed the signature process and you've completed the signature process.
Right.
You cannot go back and edit any other parts of the application, with the exception of the social number on the producer statement.
Okay. So anytime prior to submit to back office, or can you do it after?
So Dave,
Dave,
just to be clear, let's say you're not doing a screen share. So you've got the client, you're doing a remote sale, you're in Texas, they're up in Oklahoma. You've got the application pulled up in front of you at your computer, you the agent.
Right.
You've completed everything. You get to the point where you email the signature pages. So all that the client has received from you or that can see are the signature pages. Correct?
No, not true. They're actually sent the whole app.
Okay.
I just was able to, by hitting the next signature button, it took me right to the next page where a signature is required. You can hit the next button and go through the application page by page by page if you want to.
Got it. Okay. So they're going to get everything.
Yes.
And they don't have the ability to submit anything. All they really have the ability to do is go in and do the electronic signature, digital signatures.
Right. This little box, they'll never see this box here that has the controls that you have.
Got it.
So
okay.
when you think you're ready to rumble and everything's all signed, it will show up on this list. And this is just bring up. This is a test site, but it will show the application status is signed. So once an application is signed, you have the ability to submit it. And if you submit it to us here within 2 hours, we're going to take a look at it and get it submitted to the home office. This knocks a few days off the underwriting process. You know that the application, it may not have all the right answers. It might kick out for errors on how you answered a question wrong, but the application is complete. You've checked every box. You've typed in information where you've said yes to a medical condition. So you know the application is grammatically correct. It may not be technically correct, but it's grammatically correct. And don't worry that everybody's not shy about reaching out and asking for clarifications on questions. So
is the digital signature instantaneous? So if you email them the signature or the app, they do the digital signatures and they acknowledge over the phone. They say, "Yep, I just clicked on it, I did it." And you go into view application. Is it pretty instantaneous? You'll see that the signing had been completed.
Yeah, actually, you don't have to be on the phone with them when they sign it. You can if you like, but they'll get an email with a link to click on that takes them right to the site where the application is sitting there, their application. They'll be asked to verify perhaps a date of birth and an address to get access to, final access to that app to sign it. And then once they hit that finished button, that they've finished signing it, then that site where the application resides is going to reach out to you and send you an email saying that Joe Smith has signed their application. You can go back and pull up the application and finish your signatures and submit that application to us.
So once they've hit finished, it's done. It's available to be viewed. You'll be notified as well, as Dave pointed out.
Right. Exactly. So here's a cheat sheet I'm going to send down to Charlie. It has the instructions on how to set up a login ID and password to Mutual of Omaha's website, the instructions for how you download the standalone version of the software, and then the link to the website where we have all the sales materials and forms for the whole country that you can download on the fly. So, I think I'd already walked through the underwriting niches with Mutual. We're pretty darn excited about working with you. Did you want to bring up that last couple of slides, John?
Well, let's see here.
The contact sheet. It's up to you. Or I can bring them up. I have the barcode right here.
Go ahead. What do I need to do? You got to hand it back to me?
I do.
Okay.
You've got it, John. You should be able to just hit enter to go right through the next couple of slides.
Doesn't seem to like enter. I'm hitting enter and nothing's happening.
All right, I'll take it back.
That's weird.
All right, so what we have here is it's a contact sheet, John. You can walk it through. I have it open now. You can go and walk them through it.
Okay, hit slideshow. There you go. Okay, we've developed a contact sheet just so you can find us, whether it's AIM or Golden Care or the home office. You can scroll to the next page. So I'm on the list. Dave's on the list. All the appropriate folks identified by their functional area are on the list. So if you need to get us by phone or email, print up this contact sheet, put it in a file or wherever you put things that you can find later. Also have the key contact folks at Mutual of Omaha available to you. If you have any questions whatsoever, when in doubt, just pick up the phone and give us a call. There's a bunch of people here that are ready, able, and willing to help you out. So we're excited to work with you guys and really delighted with the production that's coming so far. Really appreciate working with folks that know this business and love this business like we do. So it's kind of been interesting just to get to know a lot of you guys across the country. And if you understand our world, we do kind of come from different worlds. Brokerage is different than the career environment you guys have been involved with. And the average guy we deal with, and we deal with thousands of them, they're primarily doing something else. Long-term care is sort of a sideline item for us. So it's really refreshing to talk to people that know and love and care about this business like we do. Go ahead, Dave. There's we talked a little bit about our website. You can go to www.yaim.com. That's another place to find forums. We also have webinars archived out there. Do you know, Dave, if our archived webinar of this is going to be available on the global website, or has anybody talked about that?
It'll be for the global website. I'll email the link to Charlie, and he can keep it just for his forest, and then you can share it with Deborah as well.
Yeah. Okay, and I think that's the end.
Well, thank you, both John and Dave. And before you guys head off, let me just say that, it's funny you've made the comparisons between retail or career and the brokerage world. And I can honestly say I think it's been a while since we felt like a customer. And no need to go down that path and and elaborate on that. But since I met you guys, John, I think you reached out to me. You were clearly the first carrier to reach out to me in this new world, and you haven't let up since. And then recently got to meet Dave. So I just want to put a personal endorsement in for you guys. I think most of our agents have been selling a lot of Mutual of Omaha for the last year. Prior to leaving Genworth, it all went to Crump, but now it's coming directly through your organization. But I want to personally say thank you. You guys have made us feel like customers, and it's been a while, so we appreciate that. Thank you both. Guys, if any of you have any questions and want to hang on the phone for a moment, that's right, we're not on our conference line, so I guess we'll just close. If any of you have any questions, certainly reach out to Marlene or myself. Jerry or Blaine, and we want to thank everybody for dialing in this morning. And again, Dave and John, thank you both.
Yeah, thanks for the kind words, Charlie, and thanks all for your time and attention. Good luck to you and good selling.
Okay.
Yeah, make it a great week, everybody. Take care.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.